San Diego, the undisputed craft beer capital of America, a culture inspired by the city's laid-back vibes and adventurous spirit. Join journalist and beer enthusiast Vince Meehan as we tour the most innovative local breweries, hear from their founders, and of course, taste some brews. These are the people who made San Diego a beer mecca. This is SD Craft Masters.
Hello, I'm Vince Meehan from SD Craft Masters, and we are here at Fall Brewery in North Park, and I've got Kevin Jackson, and you are the brand manager. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing good. So tell me a little bit about Fall Brewing.
Man, we've been here for 7 years. November was our 7th year anniversary. We kind of started with just 4 tanks over here. Now we're up to 13, totally maxed out with the entire space. We do everything in-house, can, bottle. We've barrel aged in here. We do everything, start to finish. And we're pretty excited about our growth in the last 7 years. And even though the last couple of years have been kind of tough and interesting, but we've been able to pivot very well and kind of move forward. So we're excited to be here.
And speaking of that, I mean, you know, the last 2 years have been, of course, wild with the COVID and all that. How were you able to cope with that?
Man, initially it was really obviously a shocker for everybody. The neighborhood really accepted us with open arms, and we never closed a day. We were always beer to go. We kind of did a neighborhood discount for the community, dropped things down 30%, just kind of keep people coming in, keep everybody. It was kind of a weird time for everybody, so we just all struggling a bit. Wasn't easy, but we have a phenomenal staff that was able to kind of figure it all out.
So you were able to kind of come through this pretty unscathed.
I wouldn't say unscathed, but it was, everybody took a hit, but
yeah.
we managed very, very well, and we're stronger for it today.
And I think one of the obvious things is there used to be a parking lot here, which is now outdoor seating, which I think everybody in San Diego had to pivot to that to get past the regulations, and that's going to be, looks like it's going to be a permanent thing now, right?
Man, we hope so. It's something we've always wanted to do. It's San Diego. It's beautiful, always, even during the winter. And so it's nice to sit out and have a beer. We have food trucks that pull up now. We work with local food trucks that are here every day. And it just works out. We have some good tacos coming today, and tacos and beer and some punk rock music in the sunshine. You can't beat that, right?
Now, speaking of the punk rock, I kind of sense a theme here with the punk rock. How did that come about?
So, man, honestly, a lot of it comes back to just youth and just listening to punk rock, going to shows, playing music, run around with each other. Our owner, Dave Lively, is really big into the music scene, graphic designer. Man, this guy's done everything, and kind of from skateboarding to music to all kinds of stuff.
All around California dude, huh?
Yep, he's a good dude. And he does all of our branding. A lot of these flyers up here, he's designed for the bands.
Really?
Yeah.
So does he do the swag, the t-shirts?
He does
and all that?
all of it, yeah.
Because that's one of the things that impressed me the most about fall is that swag, and it's something now, you know, the breweries, they've gone beyond just the beer. You've got the food trucks, you've got sometimes live entertainment, and the swag is another one where that's kind of that's my go-to Christmas gifts for my friends to get some swag, a hoodie or a t-shirt. And I was really, really impressed with the artwork, and I'm happy to hear it was your owner there.
Yeah, Dave does all of that, and he's crazy talented. It's nice to have that in-house and somebody with a nice vision like he has, because it's kind of changes the game for us. And it's nice we also work with a lot of local artists, tattoo artists. Actually, one of our bartenders, Angela, she does phenomenal art for us. She's done quite a few shows here as well. We do a lot of local art shows. We'll have them up for about a month. We work with our friends and kind of family at this point. And it's great for the community. It brings everybody in. We'd usually do a beer release with that as well. So we get to tie in our beer with art, and we'll do punk rock with that, playing it as well. And it all kind of works together.
And that's kind of a North Park thing of philosophies where you do embrace the community, especially with art shows and things like that. Murals, you've got your rock and roll mural out there.
Yeah, our buddy Adam Hawthorne did all of those. And it's You can see him on our Let's Go cans. We used that when we launched Let's Go, worked with him. He's another artist that we've done art shows with him in his tattoo shop right down the street. Big Trouble Tattoo, good friends of ours. And they've done some work on me as well.
And then so, word has it, we're down to South Park now.
Yeah, we just opened a tasting room June last year. 30th and Juniper. And it's been great. It's a super cool community down there. A little bit more neighborhoody vibe. There's some phenomenal restaurants and bars down there. There's some new spots opening up. Dark Horse Coffee just opened up right on the corner from us. We've worked with them since pretty much day one on a coffee and vanilla stout called 2 a.m. Bike Ride. And they're a good group of people. We've grown with them. They've grown, and they now have like 7 or 8 spots around the county, and they're doing well. So it's a nice community down there, and it works very well for us.
2 a.m. Bike Ride. I saw that T-shirt somewhere. It's a guy falling off his bike. It's
slamming off the bike, yeah. And you're going to talk to Dan here in a little bit, who has slammed a couple times on his bicycle.
So was he the inspiration?
Broke his collarbone. He was actually, yeah. So it's good. We really like to work with the community. We work with a lot of neighborhood bars and restaurants, juice shops. We like to keep it local. And I think that really benefited us during times like COVID, when we kind of have each other at that point, and that makes me proud. Makes me proud to see what the neighborhood done and how it's changed since we've been here. Not saying that we're part of that, but I feel like we really have a solid backbone that kind of keeps this place nice and organized.
The community, would you say it's a large part of your clientele, the people in the neighborhood community?
Absolutely. Huge neighborhood community. It's phenomenal to see. I've been here 7 years. The brewery's been, November was our 7-year anniversary. To see regulars still coming in from day one. Before we started filming this, we had a guy that used to work here come in to buy a hoodie.
Yeah.
He and his wife are going to, they're hopping on a flight right now and want to grab a hoodie as a gift. So it's cool to see him again after so long.
How about the way I found out about you guys, it's one of the beer fests they used to have all the time. They really haven't had them. Are they coming back?
They are coming back, yeah. We're actually doing one this weekend, and you're starting to see a lot more of those as obviously COVID restrictions have changed, and we're kind of moving into full capacity for big events, which I think is phenomenal. It's how a lot of people bring in new beers, how a lot of people you could go into these places and try 50, 60, 70 beers in one shot if your stomach can handle it. And I think it's phenomenal. And we really enjoy doing that kind of stuff.
And I think for the beer community, it's basically, that's kind of the ground zero where you meet all your friends, you get to taste all the beers, and that's really where, the whole, the story about who's doing what comes out in those beer festivals.
Absolutely. And it's cool to see what our friends are doing, because we work very close with a lot of different breweries, and we're all friends. We all get along. I mean, I'm sure there's some competition and we all want to do our best, but at the end of the day, if somebody comes in and says, hey, we need some yeast, we need some hops, can we work a deal? We always.
And that's the one thing I did notice about the beer community. Just like you said, if somebody, I just ran out, I need some of this, you guys just take it over there. There's none of that dog eat dog kind of a thing. You're all good friends. And
we're all kind of in this together, and we just help each other out.
Now, wouldn't it be great if everybody had that community spirit like the beer?
Unfortunately, it's not like that.
Well, we can start here. We can make this a model. How about that?
I love it.
Give me a little bit of background about your experience, where you came from, how you ended up at Ball.
Man, I was a chef for a long time previous to this.
Oh, really?
Graduated Le Cordon Bleu in 2005.
Wow.
Worked restaurants, bars, did that for 13, 14 years. When that was done, I wanted to take about a year off and just kind of surf and travel and take some photos. I really love photography and was kind of going down that route, working on the motorcycle side of things. And a buddy of mine was working here right when they first opened and was like, hey, do you want to come work the door a couple days a week? And I was like, no, not really. I wasn't really ready to, vacation wasn't done yet. So I called him back in a couple weeks, and I was like, hey, is the opportunity still there? I think it'd be fun, meet some new people. And started there. Funny story, the first week here, we had somebody steal our tip jar, and myself and the owner, Dave, who does all the branding and everything, he and I chased him down the street, got all of our money back, tips for the night. He had kind of taken all that stuff. So Dave, we're running down the street and there's this lady walking her dog. Dave trips over the dog and I run after the guy. I was able to get the guy, get our money back, and Dave comes back and he's like, I'm sorry, I tripped over the dog and I felt bad because the lady was walking her dog, so I sat and talked to her for a little bit. So we ended up getting all of our money back, so then kind of celebrated from that. From there, started bartending and then kind of moved into the management side of things and really been able to help on that side. And now I'm really excited to be able to open South Park. We had somebody step in, Brian, that is now Brian Vong's now our manager at both locations, kind of oversees everything, and he's doing a phenomenal job.
Okay, any plans for the future you can tell us about?
Future, yes. We are looking for open a couple more tasting rooms. We have been aggressively seeking that. Wider spread on our distribution. Currently, we are just Southern California based. We're looking to open Northern California, possibly Arizona, Colorado here in the near future, and just move forward. Still producing the same kind of core values, our core beers, and I don't know, just keep moving.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure.
And we're going to go to a very one of my favorite parts. We're going to try some of these beers here and talk to your brewmaster.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Hey, Vince Meehan from SD Craft Masters, and we are with Dan Oulette. Did I say that right?
You did.
All right, French. And he is the brewmaster here at Ball. And tell me a little bit about your background. You told me earlier you came from the East Coast.
I did. So back in 2017, I had been talking to a lot of friends for a while that lived out here, and I was like, I swear I'm gonna move to San Diego one of these days. And they all kept calling my bluff, and things happened in life and I never made it. Well, I decided in 2017 I was gonna sell most of my things and pack up my car with my dog and drive out cross country and see what happens. So I drove out here, literally nowhere to live, and I had an interview lined up at Fall. And I got hired about 3 days after I arrived in San Diego.
What was the interview for?
The interview was for a cellarman position here.
Okay.
So kind of taking care of fermentation, washing kegs, of course, and filling kegs, helping with bottling. Kind of doing a little bit of everything.
Did you know how to make beer before you got here?
So on the East Coast, I did brew for about 3 years at a brewery called 603 Brewing. They're a local brewery. They're now the biggest craft brewery in New Hampshire.
Oh.
And ironically, a good friend of mine from San Diego recently moved to the East Coast and is now the head brewer for them.
Okay.
So brewed there for a little bit and spent a lot of time working in kitchens and bars up until I moved out here.
And it seems like the story is typical in the beer world that you start off,
Low man.
Yeah. What did you call it? Cellarman?
Cellarman.
Okay. And then, but eventually you work up your way to head brewer. And how long did that take you?
So I've been with Fall about 5 years. I started doing the majority of the brewing about 2 years in. And then I think it's been about almost a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I took over as head brewer now.
Okay. So it's going out?
Going well.
Going well. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to taste it's a Pilsner.
Yes.
And the reason I like this is because I do like Pilsners. I went to Europe and I really fell in love with the Pilsners over there, up in the Alps. And so when I found out you guys had Pilsner, I said, hey, I was at one of the beer fests and I said, I really like this. So tell me a little bit about what it takes to make a Pilsner.
So Plenty for All is really a passion for all the guys that work with me in the production area. We use German malts, exclusively for this beer, and we're also using noble hops. So we use Hallertau and Tettnang, and it gives really nice earthy, subtle, spicy notes to the beer, but it's also super clean, really nice, dry, crisp finish, and it just makes you want to go back for another sip.
What kind of hops are in here?
So the hops are Hallertau Mittelfrau, as well as Tettnang.
Okay. And what we're looking at first, of course, is the color. And you want a Pilsner to be clear, right?
Crystal clear, absolutely. Crystal clear. There is a version called a Zwickelbier, which is an unfiltered Pilsner or lager, which we do periodically, seasonally, add a little something different on the board. It's a little bit softer, a little bit of a rounder beer, but this is, in my opinion, the ideal hot weather beer.
Yeah, and that's kind of you do have a point there with when are you going to have the Pilsner? 2 o'clock. Having a picnic, you don't want something big and heavy, so you want something refreshing, cold. And let's see what we got taste-wise. got like a cereal element in there.
Absolutely, and that's coming from the malts that we use.
Okay.
Very, very minimal malt in this beer. And that really is what's shining, the malt and the yeast.
Okay.
There's nothing to hide behind in a Pilsner. So if it's bad, everybody knows it's bad.
Yeah. And then for a finish, we've got kind of a, almost like a little bit of mineral to it.
There is a little bit of minerality. Sulfur is a very common thing to find in a Pilsner, and that's a byproduct of fermentation.
Okay.
So the yeast produces a little bit of sulfur, and we keep a little bit of that in there in order to help round out the flavor profile of the beer.
Gotcha. And they come in cans, so this is Ball is really well known for its cool artwork on the cans.
Absolutely.
You can get these to go. I've seen them at liquor stores, so
Yeah.
if you got a liquor store in your area. What do we have here in the tall boy?
So in the tall cans, this is a new rotating pale ale that we're coming out with,
Okay.
kind of a seasonal pale ale. This is Pleasure Seekers. I know Kevin was discussing some of the local artists that we work with. One of our local artists actually designed this label for us. So this beer is super dry, really hop forward. It's hopped with Simcoe and Motueka. And it's got a really bright citrus grapefruit pith note to it, as well as a little pine and resinous to kind of round out that flavor, but it's not a cloying hop.
And what was it called?
Pleasure Seekers.
It smells like an IPA.
It does. It's 5.8%, so
Okay.
it's a lower, kind of good, go to the beach, hang out, have a couple beers.
And you do smell the Simcoe hops. Those are notoriously kind of more upfront, right?
Absolutely.
So, well, it doesn't taste like an IPA at all, though.
No, it's much more mellow. There's
Yeah.
not as assertively bitter. It's really a good all-around beer. I almost kind of like to think of it as an intro to hops
There you
for
go.
people.
There you go. And you're right, because it's got that hop aroma, but then you don't get blasted when you taste it. So it's another good picnic beer.
Absolutely. Or backyard barbecue.
Yeah. And then, so tell me a little bit about what went into making the beer and what was the inspiration?
So this is a beer that we've kind of revamped from the past, and it's got really clean base malts.
Okay.
So we use a North American Pilsner malt, which is going to give you really minimal flavors, slight cereal grain. And then we also use a German crystal malt that gives it a little bit of that nice hue to it. Also adds a little bit of sweetness and body to the beer. It is a very dry beer, but I feel like in this weather, especially this time of year in San Diego, this is really like a patio beer. Sit outside, enjoy it, enjoy the sunshine.
And when you live in San Diego, that's what you're gonna be doing a lot of
Absolutely.
times. And I've actually seen a trend where I'm seeing more of these bone dry beers that are meant to be drunk in the afternoon. Also a resurgence in Mexican pilsners.
Absolutely.
Or lagers.
Lagers, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, in the last 7 years when Ball was here, a lot's changed in the beer world.
Absolutely.
Now you've got, what do you got going on? You got sour beers, you have pastry bombs, you have, what else?
Hazy IPAs are always
Yeah.
huge right now. We can't keep them in stock when we brew a fresh one. People they really want to try the newest beer. And it's fantastic. It does great for us. And then when they come in, they try the newest beer, and then they might have a couple more pints. We have a huge array of beers on our draft list here, as well as available out in the market.
And then the sour beers, how's that working out?
Sour beers are some of my favorites.
Really?
We do them a little bit more traditional. We don't do the milkshake sours and things like that. So ours have a really bright acidity to them, and we use all fresh juice. We have a neighborhood shop right across the street, Senor Mangoes, that processes all the fruit for us and juices it for us. We bring them sanitized 5-gallon buckets. They fill them up for us, bring it back, and we add it to the beer post-fermentation so that it is sweetening the beer a little bit and cutting a little bit of the acidity out, but also giving you a more real flavor. None of the extract medicinal flavors that you get a lot of times when you use different products to flavor.
And I get the impression that, a brewery is a business like anywhere else. So, you may say, well, I really like Belgian beers, but if they don't sell, you're
Yeah.
not going to make them. So hence you've got all the IPAs and
Absolutely.
all the, whatever it is it sells is really what you're going to have here in your tasting room.
See, for me, I really like Saisons.
Yeah.
However, the running joke is Saison stays on. They're phenomenal beers. They have a place, but unfortunately, in the grand scheme of things, it's a very niche beer. So it makes it really hard to make a really good production version as a US brewer.
Gotcha. And so if you could look into your crystal ball, I never knew sour beers are coming. I never knew any of that. So anything that you can...
I honestly see, personally, the trend going slightly away from hazy IPAs, honestly, and going a little bit more towards the crisp, assertively bitter.
So what's going on here?
West Coast, San Diego style hoppy beers. I think the hazies definitely have a place, but people are starting to remember, man, I really crave hops. And don't get me wrong, there is a ton of hops in hazy beers, but they're used in a very unique way that hazy IPA and a West Coast IPA or East Coast IPA are all very unique in their own right.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming out.
Pleasure.
This is our first episode of SD Craftmasters, so thank you for being on our debut show. We're going to have a lot more, and we'll see you out there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get away, let's go! You got it, don't want it, gotta get away from me. The distance, it's social, reaching from me 6 feet deep.